Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of No Particular Reason. I'm your host, Yanko. We're at episode 69, and you're probably quite a bit of surprised to see Gail Kraft next to me. She's joining me to chat today on the show because Kerri Lewis is unavailable right now. And we welcome Gail at any time when she likes to join us. And Gail, how are you? Thanks for joining me.
I'm doing a fantastic. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'm not available when you guys are on. Otherwise, I would just pop in. But um, who knows where this conversation will go, right? This is what I love about what you guys do. It's just, off the cuff. And that's literally how I prefer conversations to be. Like, not a list
I'm
of questions, no agenda, right?
right. I kind of love it too. It just kind of rolls naturally, whatever comes up, and sometimes a lot of good stuff comes out. I don't know. It's exciting.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. So, we kind of talked a little bit beforehand, and you said, like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, maybe dragons. And then I'm like, yeah, no, not dragons. And then I'm like, writing a book about dragons. So I'm just looking for you, Yanko, to share this on my
Hmm.
Facebook, right? And so let's talk a little bit about dragons.
Sure.
So dragon
Let's.
talk.
Yeah. That's exciting. So where should we start?
Well, okay, so we'll back off a little bit. And I had a session with a gentleman, Christopher Blackwell. He's a sound healer, he's a channeler, he's just an amazing man. And we met, and he said, I'm getting that you're going to write another book. And my response was, no. Like, no. Right. And he's like, yeah, it's coming. Like, whatever. And I forgot about it. And then right now, I'm on another road trip, short one, but definitely on a road trip. And on the way, I get what always happens, this flash of, "Oh, yeah, write about dragons." I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Literally, as I'm driving here, the outline for how I'm going to write about dragons came to me. So as soon as I got to Denver, I put the outline out there. Like before I forget it, let's just put the outline out there. So I know the outline of the book. Okay. The first three chapters literally came. So the first chapter, which I want to share with you, and then I'll tell a story about another chapter, um,
Please do.
is where did all the magic go? Right? What happened to us as adults forgetting about the magic in life? And how magical is the magic anyway? And so I mentioned some scientifically proven facts. Number one, your eyes see 0.000035% of what's out there. Four zeros, 35%. So our eyes do not see nearly an iota of what is available out there. So who's to say there aren't dragons when there are dragons in history all around the world? Someone has seen dragons. The second fact I talk about is that our ears don't hear a thing. Our ears pick up vibration and only a certain bandwidth of vibration, and then the brain interprets what that means,
Right. Yeah,
right?
this is very interesting that you brought this up because in some
Right?
books they talk about the unheard sound that you can hear without your ears and all that. Like
Yes.
what sound what's the sound of one hand clapping, you know?
Well, you know that elephants communicate. They talk to one another.
Sure.
We do not hear that because of the frequency
Yeah.
that they communicate at. So the first chapter is all about, be open to the magic, first of all. Okay. And then the second chapter is a little bit dry. It's like dragons are elementals. So what are elementals? So I explain what that's all about. And they come from different dimensions. So I talk about the fourth through the ninth dimension. What are those dimensions?
Ooh,
Yes.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You know,
And then
a
I
lot
get,
of people still have questions about that things. Like
yeah,
sometimes people would
read the
ask me,
book.
like,
That chapter
yeah,
alone will answer those
exactly. I
questions,
know.
right? Right? So I'm not going to tell you. You have to read the book just for that chapter. And then I go into the story. And so each chapter, each dragon chapter is a standalone. You can read that by itself. You can read it in any order that you want, but it's the main character encounter with dragons. And I start with the fourth dimensional dragons, then some fifth dimensional dragons. So the dragons by dimension come in, and I don't give the character a name or a gender so that anybody can put themselves in that position, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Every story that I tell that leads up to a dragon appearing is a true story that has happened to me. So, so it's very easy to write because, so for example, one story is I decided to take a walk in the woods and I chose a path that was only about 2 miles. And the path went down to a lake and then up back to the parking lot. And so I talk about hitting the lake and, the trees, and then I see an owl in the tree who's awake in the middle of the day. And the owl and I are looking at each other, and I say, "What are you doing awake in the middle of the day?" And the owl says, "What do you care?" Right? Wise owl, right? And then I hear the flap of the wings behind me, and I turn around, and that dragon takes me through the woods and talks about what they're here for. So each chapter is, what does this particular dragon bring to humanity? Right? What is the lesson, the gift that they give? And the thing about elementals, angels are elementals, elves are elementals, right? Witches are elementals. Elementals cannot show up unless you call them in because they do not have free will.
Hmm.
Let me just
Interesting.
say that again for those of you who have witches in their life. Elementals cannot show up unless you invite them in because they do not have free will.
Hmm.
Okay? So dragons do not show up. Angels do not show up unless you call them. Angels are elementals.
Hmm.
What does that mean? They're not made of all of the elements. So we can't see them even though they're here. They're made of maybe earth and water, maybe fire and earth, maybe fire and water. And there's a
Hmm.
balance. There are fire and water dragons,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Right. The very first dragon is the earth dragon. And I explained that that dragon was part of creating the earth. And what that dragon participated in is creating what's called ley lines. Ley lines are an energy that goes through like a web inside of Earth, which is keeping the Earth together.
I
And
love that he
we are
explaining
destroying.
all that because, like, a lot of people
Yeah.
are like, What are ley lines? What are you talking about?"
Right, right, right. And I explain that in the book. The dragon explains, right? And we're destroying the ley lines. Fracking is destroying the ley lines.
Hmm.
And so that dragon and I went on a trip and started repairing ley lines. And then I asked the dragon to call other dragons in and to stay. It can't do that unless we ask it to,
Yeah. Sure.
right?
Free
Because it
will.
doesn't have
Yeah.
free will, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I left that dragon in charge of fixing ley lines, right? And so each chapter is a little lesson about who we are, what we are, and what's happening in our life. So
Mm,
it's like a little Aesop's fable each chapter.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's lots of fun. Lots of fun. One chapter had
I,
me in tears.
I know it's very exciting. I'm excited for you. This is gonna be good. Like I'm genuinely waiting to see how this is gonna unfold and
Yeah.
get my hands on it
It'll
once
be
it's
it'll
done.
be beautiful. I would expect that the hardcover will be expensive because it'll be in color, or I should say
Mm,
the physical copy. Um, what I've done is I've worked with AI to create the dragons. Oh, and I've got to tell you, the one of I think it's the last dragon, that the last chapter that I finished. It's the Christed dragon, which
hmm.
means that Christ is an energy. He's not a person. Jesus was the person. It's
Well, I know, and
Jesus
thanks for
the
clarifying
Christ, right?
that.
Jesus the Christ, right? He had that love, that energy, right? That
Uh-huh.
that dimensional energy, and so this dragon was gifted with that energy, and comes, and when I asked AI to, this is what the dragon looks like, this is what I want you to make, and it was like a person. I'm like, dragons don't have arms. Can you take the arms away? Right? Gave me another rendition. I'm like, nope, still arms there. Take the arms away. Right? Get the next rendition. I'm like, dragons have wings and a tail. Can we have that?
And then he puts wheels in a tank and
No,
hands
no,
in the same time.
yeah, no, 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 no. The hands were finally gone, but I got
And and, and
kind of
and I
what I
have
wanted. Go
and I
ahead.
have somebody else joining us as well,
Oh,
unexpectedly. There you
yeah.
go. Let's bring him in and introduce him.
Hey, greetings. Hello.
Hey,
Greetings,
Yeah.
Earthling.
Well, Earthling, maybe, maybe not. That's
maybe,
a temporary
maybe.
Maybe
state.
not. So, by
Nice.
our listening audience, this is Alex that goes by AM Arctos, who does
Indeed.
the Space God podcast. And it's a returning guest that's been in the show.
We
And
both
to bring
are.
you up to speed, yeah, and to bring you up to speed, we're just talking about Gil's Craft new book about dragons.
Oh, very
And
cool. Yeah, I remember meeting it with you on one of these like networking calls or whatever
It may
before
have been
or
at
so.
Carrie's birthday party or something.
Yeah, I know it wasn't in person. I haven't met you in
No,
person yet,
not
but
yet.
I was very excited at some point to talk to you about your books and stuff and your writing.
Oh, so tell me about it. Tell me about it. Well, so yes, I had first of all, I never considered myself a writer.
Hmm,
I have 4 books and 4 collaboration books that I'm in. So when
nice.
I get, it's the universe, except for the first book. The first book was like an expensive business card, if you will, right?
Hmm.
And then after that, it's like, okay, well, I'm done. And then it's downloads. It's like the universe is saying, yeah, you think you're done? No.
Nice. Well, as a fellow writer, in many ways, I view creative writing itself as like similar to channeling or receiving downloads. You just kind of get in that flow state and you see what gets brought up. And, obviously afterwards you're editing it and all that before publishing. But yeah, similar.
You know, I do soul realignment work with people. And so I talk about your spirit guides when I do that. And one of the things I explain is that, there are different levels of spirit guides. You've got spirit guides that are
Mm,
around you that have shown up at different points in your life to help you with that transition. As you mature, and there's a guide that comes to help you with that. And they hang around just for the show of it.
hmm.
I like I did my job, but I'm going to hang around, see what happens with you. So they're not really right. They're looky loos. They're looky loos, right?
Nice.
I'm going to experience through, and I don't have to go through any of the crap that you're going through. This is awesome, right? And then there are spirit guides that um, are there for, that are like another level, that are there for, protection, for guidance, whatever. And then there are spirit guides that come in for the moment. And that's what when I get that
Hmm.
spur to write, it's like my guide saying, "Hey, she's going to write again. Can we have someone come and like give her a hand?"
Hmm.
And then when I'm done, they're like, "Okay, you go help someone else." Right?
Interesting. I'm interested in knowing how exactly you experience these spirit guides. More as a, idea in your like inner vision, or more like, do you see them as like entities speaking to you, or in dreams, or how so?
I feel them.
You know,
I'm a feeler. But dragons are spirit guides too,
nice.
right? They're
Yeah,
spirit guides.
I've definitely encountered like helpful dragon-like beings in my various astral travels and out-of-body experiences. I remember this one particularly vivid vision where, I was visiting this a place that in the dream was called to me, or actually this was like beyond a dream where I stepped beyond the dream. This place called the Library of Isis. That was on this huge elevated platform overlooking this vast desert, and eventually at the end of the dream, like I turned into this like gigantic golden metallic dragon, which was really cool.
Yeah. So the golden dragon is the Christed dragon, right?
Nice.
It was the one I was just
Ooh,
talking about.
there you go.
Gold,
Oh,
gold,
what's that? Wow.
gold is
I love
protection.
how the things are aligning.
Nice.
Gold is
Mhm.
protection, right? Right? And gold is love. Right? It's the Christ love. It's the pure love. So yeah, the colors all have meanings as well. I might close the chapter with the meaning of the colors.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the meaning of the colors. Yeah.
See, there you
Okay,
go.
guys. This is what I mean. You just never
There you
know when
go.
stuff is going to come up, and I have to write it
Mhm.
down before it's gone, right?
Nice. So I forget, are your books more like spiritual, metaphysical kind of books, or
Um,
are they fiction?
this one's fiction
Oh,
or not.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
fiction always has a bit of truth in it.
or
In it, you know.
not, right? But
Or
no,
is it?
right?
Or
It's
is it?
actually
Hmm.
not, but it's written. This one I'm writing so it can be something. It's kind of like Harry Potter. A child can read it or an
Yeah.
adult can read it and get some learnings. There's learnings in all of it.
Oh, cool.
So, the first book of meaning for me was The Empowering Process, and that's 366 empowering questions.
Hmm.
Right? Empowering questions to me are impactful, whereas affirmations and declarations aren't, because I can be lying to myself.
Hmm.
My
Oh.
affirmation is, or my declaration is, I am a millionaire. And my subconscious goes, yeah, right. And checks out, because your subconscious, if you lie to yourself, is just going to do the opposite.
Hmm.
So empowering questions are structured in a certain way and languaged in a certain way. So your subconscious mind, your reticular activation system, if you want to be scientific, opens up. And so it's like, what more can I do today to move myself towards more and more abundance? And so your subconscious mind
Hmm.
goes, what more can you do? Well, you're doing this and this. You can do that. And it opens up. Right. And so
Very
it's a
cool.
question that tells your mind, I'm already doing something. I want to do it in the now. And there's a specific time frame.
Oh, that's very cool. I haven't seen people approach things like manifestation and all that with questions. So I'd love to check that one out.
I wrote the book because at the time I was homeless. I was ready to sell pencils on the
Hmm.
street corner, and all of the other coach a babble bullshit wasn't working for me, right?
Yeah.
And I started the empowering questions, and I had intentions. My intention was have my cards paid off by the end of the year. This was like April, May, to be in a home
Hmm.
and to have my business back up and running. By December, my business was up and running. I was living in a luxury apartment, and my charge cards and debt was paid.
Oh, definitely worked for you then.
Right,
Excellent.
right. And so as I was going through these questions, they become more spiritual. So they start off with, what more can I do to make money, or whatever people are looking for. But it starts to get a little bit more esoteric. There's a section in there that is about the Course of Miracles. I take some of the Course of Miracles stuff and say, what more can I do to bring in some of the things that talks about? I talk about the universal laws. What more can I do to connect with a variety of the universal laws? So it starts to get broader. So it eases the reader in, and they can pick any question they want, stop when it no longer resonates. It doesn't really matter. So that's the first book of meaning that I wrote.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then I wrote Journey to Enlightenment.
Oh.
That one I was told by the universe to. So now I'm being told by the universe. Like every book after that, I'm being told, you will write this.
Oh, cool.
Right. And that book, um, I was talking with a spiritualist friend of mine, and I started reading Patterns on the Trestle Board, which are 10 prayers that go with the Kabbalah,
Mhm.
right? And I got to number 3, and this is live. This is on the podcast. This is like on the podcast. I'm reading this to him, and he stops at like the third one. He goes, "Stop! You're killing me! You're killing me!" I'm like, "What? What? I'm sorry. What's going on? What's going on?" They're yelling at me. You've got to bring this forward. And I'm like, Franco, this is 4,000 years old. What are you talking about? Bringing this forward. He goes, I'm just telling you, they're telling me you've got to bring this forward.
Hmm.
So, okay. So, Journey to Enlightenment is each chapter is a Sephora or an energy center. The Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, and Patterns on the Trestle Board, they're all three the same. And I bring it. What does that mean today? I mean, I'm not going to take you to, by the way, people, some things are made so complex that it's a bunch of crap, right? I bring it down so that it matters every day. And it's written so that if you learn by reading, there it goes. If you learn by doing, there's an exercise. If you learn by listening, there's a link to a meditation.
Hmm.
And if you want an empowering question, there's an empowering question. So
Beautiful.
I love
yeah,
it.
so that
Yeah.
purpose is to bring it forward, right? To bring, how do you interpret and learn? So I try to reach as many modalities as I can. The fourth book is Lessons from Hell, and that book is about transformation through the dark night. And my dark night was chemotherapy, and it's what I went through to connect with the universe and love and learn and grow, regardless of what was going on. I thanked my body for putting up with me. I thanked the angels for showing up for me. I asked God to be with me. Oops, we lost
Oops.
him. He has something. Oh, there we go. So that's, and I thought I was done with that book. I thought I was done. Yanko, I really thought I was done.
No, I know. That was right around the time
Sorry.
we met, and
Yeah.
I had the same impression because you were talking about like I'm done with writing after this.
Well, that was
Wow. Mm.
But you never know, though. I'm kind of the same way. Sometimes when I'm inspired or get a download, and I write it down, and I don't make much of it, and I put it aside, and then uh, just recently I went back to what I was writing, and I was like, wow, this is great stuff. How did I come up with this? I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't me. It definitely wasn't
Yeah,
me.
it wasn't something because like I have no recall, and no one's talking to Kira about it, and she's like, you telling me you read what you're writing? I just go and just blob it out and put it aside, and I don't go back and read it. I'm like, well, what's the point then? Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the chapters by the way, the book that I'm writing is called Dragon Tales, Tails,
Nice.
right? Um, I was in tears, and each chapter is something that's really happened to me, and then I introduced the dragon, and this particular experience, I still, if I talk about it, I'm not going to because I want you to read the book. um, I was brought to my knees in tears,
Hmm.
right? And it was, love. The love was that powerful. The message was that profound. And and it happened during a service. And as I walked out, in the book, I walk out and I see a dragon, and I look around in the parking lot. Does anyone else see this?
Hmm.
Right? Or is it just me? No one else seems to see this thing coming towards me, right?
It was your
Um,
dragon.
hmm and the point being is my experience. Like, you can't call dragons. Dragons have to be called in. That I am unconsciously calling the dragons in through these experiences.
Hmm.
Right? So they're not just showing up. I have called them in because of the experience that I've had.
Well, to circle
Right.
back a little bit, you were talking about elementals, and that's how the whole thing started.
Hmm.
Now, I'm curious. Do you want to share more about like elementals in general? Like we started to talk about free will, and then maybe Alex has
Hmm.
some experience with elementals that you might want
Yeah.
to share. I don't know.
Yeah. So elementals are, they're called elementals because they're made of elements, but not all of the elements. So they're not in the same dimensional frequency that our bodies are in. So we don't see them, but that does not mean that they're not here. Right? And they're made of the elements, as we're made of all of the elements. They're made of only one, two, or maybe three of the elements, but not all of them. And based on their color and based on their elements, will determine what their role is and what they do. Angels are elementals, witches are elementals, elves are elementals, um, fairies are elementals. They're here. Nymphs are elementals, salamanders are elementals, right? They're all here in some form that our eyes don't see. So, what are your
Hmm.
thoughts, Alex?
Well, yeah, I'm very familiar with the various ideas of, elementals and things. I don't necessarily see the world through that lens always, where like I directly work with and interact with these kind of beings. But I didn't practice Kabbalah, but I did practice Enochian magic, and which is a different magic system, more developed in the West, kind of channeled initially by you know John Dee and what's his name, Edward Kelly, and that was kind of received in Elizabethan England by them, and it deals with venturing forward spiritually to the different like planes of existence, which they call the ethers, and to them, reality is kind of split into these separate, what they call four different watchtowers, each one linked with one of the elements: air, earth, fire, or water. And yeah, there's another one too, but they don't always go into that.
Hmm.
And all the angels have their different hierarchies linked with the different elements, but they're,
Right.
there's still these like exalted beings, and each of them kind of serve a different purpose. And yeah, I went through the kind of different ethers or layers of reality and different meditations with Enochian magic over the course of a few years, and yeah, had a lot of great, insightful personal experiences. And some of them felt like these very detailed spiritual journeys where I encountered different beings, saw different aspects of myself, and it was pretty cool and pretty useful stuff. And I know probably I don't know if you see the world with the same lens, or Yanko does, or if Kerri would, but if you're not willing to say literally believe in them as having these being separate beings with a separate existence, you could see them as different aspects of yourself to be
Yeah.
learned from or integrated, or it can be valuable teachers, whatever you feel their absolute reality is.
It's really interesting. This morning, I had a friend who ran a little workshop, and she did a meditation. And I don't know what her intention was with the meditation. It was a trip to the fifth dimension.
Nice.
But literally, I felt what it feels like for my soul to be living through me, not me being my soul, but my soul, like, literally felt it come in my back and, like, finally, you're letting me experience the way that I want to experience coming
Nice.
through you, right? And I mean, I literally could feel that happening. Um, this past week, and this will be in the book,
Hmm.
I had an experience where um, I literally saw my ego being the cause of me forgetting.
Hmm.
Right? I looked at ego and went, "You have more jobs than just keeping me safe. You're the one who shut the door to me knowing. You're the one
Yeah.
who turned off all of the codons, my codes. You're the reason I forgot." And so I pushed ego back. I mean, ego fought me. And I said, "You have one job. I'm the boss of you. Understand?
Hmm. Interesting.
Your one job is to keep me safe." And I've started a journey of going to codon and unlocking the treasure chest or unlocking the door to let the knowledge that ego tried to block me from
Interesting.
loose. Yeah.
Yeah, because the way I've experienced it and what I've seen from astral projection, dream work, things like that, is we actually remember everything. Our subconscious, at least, remembers everything we've ever experienced. And I mean, for the most part, I say, yeah, for sure, for this life. But if you're willing to believe in other lifetimes, parallel existences, higher stuff, then yeah, that too. And there's definitely a function to make us, at least temporarily, forget things. And probably a lot of people would classify that under the category of the ego, however you want to define that, or the conscious mind, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, think of it this way. How are you gonna have a experience if you don't forget who you are?
Well, we had
How are
to.
you gonna
Yeah.
interact with yourself? I know, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see it every
It was
time. It's like, how do
intentional.
you interact? All
Yeah.
right, I
Yeah.
know. Like, otherwise, it's just not gonna be like, it won't be as exciting if you don't forget. you know.
The spiritualist that I've worked with, Franco Romero, Franco, if you're watching this, hi. Um, he said, first of all, no soul here did not come here by choice. Our souls all said, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that one." And second of all, um, we're pretty strong, smart souls, right? And he calls it a game, and I agree with him. The game that we're playing is a game that we, our soul, created because our soul believes that we can. Oh, I can handle that. I have so much love, and I'll share a story of a client of mine, and I love you, Annie. Um, she remembers choosing as a soul. I'll do that life. I have so much love. It's just love. I can handle that. And when her soul entered the womb and felt what we don't feel as souls, because that's why we're here, she's like, fuck no. Wait a minute. No, I changed my mind,
Get me
right?
out of here.
Get me out of here, right? And so she's spent a lifetime coming to terms with literally that. Franco is a walk-in or a hijacker. He died at 6 months old,
Hmm.
and the soul that came back is not the soul that left. The soul that
Mm.
left, there was a like, "Do you want to go back?" Like, no, well, I'll go. Right,
Hmm.
right. And he remembers. He didn't close the door. He remembers being there. He remembers what it's like. He's still in communication always.
That's what I hear too, though, about walk-ins. That because that fascinates me. Because sometimes I feel like I'm a walk-in. I don't know. It's weird. I don't
Well,
know.
when I do soul realignments, sometimes there'll be two souls, and I'll ask, which one is the, strongest, like percentage wise, right? Because that's the one that is
Right.
starting to dominate, and that's the one I will read, right? I'll also ask, is it negative? And then if it is, what are the negatives that we're dealing with, so that we can see if we can clear that. Sometimes we can't. If it's a vampire, I can't clear that. I won't read it.
Hmm.
That's why I don't ask for money until after I've done my first pass. Because if I'm not going to read you, then I have to refund your money, and that's a pain in the neck.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, I never identified myself as a walk-in or particularly felt like that was necessarily my path, but I acknowledge that I have a fairly loose hold on identity and attachment, and I realize that the soul can be infinitely divided. We can
Mhm.
Right.
experience different infinite aspects of the self, and I mean,
In
sure,
more
you
than one
can.
body
Yes, yes. I
at
mean,
the same time.
yes, it is possible. I know this. I know this, and it's probably the idea of having multiple bodies we're experiencing simultaneously, consciously, is probably something that many of us are moving towards being able to do on a
Yes.
regular basis. And, the idea
Yes.
of bilocation and uh, in the kind of universe I write in with my fiction, the Space God memoirs, uh, towards the end of the first season or book, and into the rest of it, we experience these uh, cultures of beings that exist on a higher kind of galactic level. And many of them, once you get into the higher, more enlightened ranks of them, that can definitely experience having multiple bodies simultaneously. They're integrating various past lives into like one incarnation, and then there's the higher
Knowledge.
ranking of them, which are
Yeah.
basically they can be like the consciousness of an entire world or star system or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there is. We don't understand infinity because of the blueprint we've created.
Yeah.
I think it was Bashar that I listened to that was
Hmm.
talking about the
Yeah.
fact that as we come, or as our soul evolves before coming here, we choose our belief system. Like, we believe that there's gravity holding us down. We believe there's air that we're breathing, right? These are belief systems, because this is all an illusion.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've never been one to hold on to like very rigid belief systems like a religion that like I believe in this and this and this. To me, it's more fluid.
Uh, Yeah.
It's like, do I believe anything in that absolute sense? Maybe subconsciously, but not consciously.
Yeah, it's hard to believe when every belief is turned over, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait for I did a podcast with this woman, Nina Majalik. Nina is amazing.
Hmm.
And we got into politics, and I never talk about politics, right? And you'll have to watch it. It's not out yet. It'll be out in a couple of weeks. And when we were done, Nina is very connected, just a beautiful woman. And I said, I don't believe I brought us to politics. She said, Gail, they told me 2 days ago you were going to do this, so I was ready. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I never talk about, but it was beautiful because we were talking about roles people play. And I mentioned, our president. I'm like, he is definitely connected, and he's playing a role he's supposed to play. He's playing a
Certainly
role.
playing a role. Yeah.
He's playing a role, right? And so how can I get upset when he's doing what he's supposed to do? Do I like his approach? It doesn't matter. That's my opinion, right? Do I believe what we see in the news about him? Not one thing. Not one thing. I do research first,
Oh,
right?
sure.
We need to research.
Well, even research won't bring you into the drama that plays out, because it's a drama, it's a play.
It is.
It Yeah, it's unfolding and you're observing it, you're enjoying it, or hating it, whatever way you like to go.
Well, it's like, have
Yeah.
you ever gone to the movies or even watched TV and you've gotten so into the program that you feel
Right.
everything that's going on? That's what our soul
Mm,
is doing with this body.
yep.
It is,
Yep.
Yeah.
it is,
That's perfect
yeah,
analogy because sometimes you see somebody getting kicked in the shin or something, and you go like,
yeah.
"Ooh."
So you go, ah, no, right? Right. Or you watch. So I used to watch West Side Story over and over and over again. And every time I'd be like, Tony, don't go. Tony, don't go. Right.
Mm, nice. Yeah,
Uh,
and you're talking about it before, like a game, and I think part of the nature of the game to really immerse yourself in the game. That's what that forgetting
mm,
is all about, so that people
yes,
can then
yeah.
fully immerse themselves in this focused
Experience the
identity.
drama. Yeah. Oh no, but you don't know what's happening to
Yeah,
me.
and with
It's
politics,
like, no, it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
So one of the podcasts I did, and it's recently aired, had a woman who is she channels with animals. She always has
yeah.
her entire life. She knows what they're saying. And a friend of hers asked her if she could do that with her unborn child. She's like, well, I've never done that, but sure, let's try it. So she did. And she said, Gail, that child blew me away. Everything. She knew she was connected to the universe. The door was open. It was phenomenal. So that child was born, and 3 weeks later, closed. All of the doors were closed. So ego or something has the job of turning the faucet off, if you will, or close the door or lock the door, so that we can experience what we came here to experience. If we come with all of that love, then we won't experience the contrast. This is a world of
Right,
contrast, right?
right,
Right. And if I hadn't gone through hell, I wouldn't know what heaven is like.
Mhm.
If my body hadn't gone through poison, I wouldn't know what, like, I feel healthier now than I ever have. Why? Because I know what it's like to really poison yourself and feel like shit,
Mm,
right? And I thank my
that's what
body for putting up with me all the time.
nice.
So,
that's what I was telling somebody the other day, that like, how would you know? Because like, oh, I work in this and that, and sometimes I have things that come out, and I'm like, yeah, you just have a reminder. Because like, if you're staying one way too much, then you need like something to remind you what that feels like, the opposite. Because you have to have you know the space in between, or to know, to have the duality experience.
well, and part
You
and
know, I
part
remember.
of alchemizing is going through the dark night. You have to so let me explain the difference between shadow work and dark night work. Shadow work, you still fall apart, but you pick up the same pieces. It's kind of like that Chinese artwork where they use gold, right? That's shadow work. Dark night, those pieces are broken, and you're like, yeah, I don't want that anymore. Don't want that. And you pick up only the pieces that serve you. It's a different
Mm,
process because you've let go
mm,
enough, you've surrendered enough to say, this is just not what I want anymore.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
go ahead.
And so eventually you might pick up all those pieces and end up throwing them into the melting pot, letting them all dissolve, and then
Make something
rebuilding
totally
something
different.
else.
Totally different. Exactly. Exactly.
And I've
Right?
and I've experienced this, and I've heard other people talk about it. That there's also going through what you call the void, where eventually you reach a point where you've done all this self-examination and integration and seeing past your own illusions and garbage, that maybe you don't believe in anything anymore, and that there is not necessarily a solid grounding anymore. And it could be horrible and terrifying, but at the same time, it's the most liberating thing, because once you're in that void and fully integrated that void, you can kind of realize that you could be the creator there. You are the creator there,
You are the
and
creator.
you
That
manifest
is,
all things. Yeah,
Alex, that's in my in the book, right journey, right?
cool.
And the reason that is part of the Kabbalah that is very rarely talked about because it's so powerful and so scary that it's hardly ever mentioned. It's right in the middle of your body. By the way, if you talk about the tree of life and your body is the Kabbalah, your body
Yeah,
is the tree of life.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's right there, and it's called the abyss
Hmm.
because that's where no thing is,
Yeah.
and where the no thing is, everything is possible.
Oh yeah.
There's infinite possibilities.
Yes, yes, and it is scary because it is free flying. It's
Well,
nothing.
it's scary to the ego though, because it feels
Mhm.
like it's dying. It's actually feeling like you're dying with no any physical indication of you being
Yeah,
in danger or anything. But you
well,
feel
you
like
are.
any minute you'll be gone, and you're like looking around, but there is nothing. You're not
Yeah.
in like
Yeah,
any immediate danger. Yeah. So
yeah, and this is why to go through that alone, you don't have to. You don't have to go through that alone, right? You definitely can reach out to someone like Yanko, someone like Alex, someone like me who's gone through this stuff. And I'll share one more thing, and then I do need to go, Franco. As a child, as a strange child, I told my father, I'm not connecting with the prayer,
Hmm.
that I have before I go to bed. God bless mommy, God bless daddy, all that.
Hmm. Yeah.
I felt that was BS. I want a real prayer. And the
Nice.
prayer he gave me is what I do now as a living.
Oh, neat.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because thou art with me.
Yeah, cool.
So I walk with you through the valley of the shadow of the death. When I realized the foretelling of that, of all of the passages in the damn Bible, why did my father pick that for this child to say before she goes to bed?
And I think the valley of the shadow of death goes back to the abyss that you were talking about. That in a archetypal sense, is that abyss, and
Yes,
it's what they were talking about there.
yes, yes. And so when I realized that, because I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And that prayer came up. I'm like, my father foresaw as much as we could go into. He was not a nice person. He foresaw stuff that I don't know how he did it. It doesn't matter. That's why I say, just because Trump is a jerk doesn't mean he's not connected. Because my father was, and
All
he was
connected in a way.
connected. Yes, he was connected. Got to go, guys. Love you.
All right,
Gonna
take
go
care.
talk angels in another meeting. Bye. I mean, dragons. Bye bye.
thanks. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. Oh, they made me it made me
Oh, sorry, we're kind of
feel
losing you here, Yanko. At least I'm seeing your screen freeze up there. You still there?
from time to time. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. We had a um as our show goes, no particular reason, everything just happens the way it happens. And I'm really grateful that you decide to join as well. I know we had that conversation last
Mhm.
weekend.
Yeah, at the festival thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And yeah, so it was great conversation there with Gail. I know I've talked to her before on these things. I forget if we're connected on social media or not, but it'd be cool to discuss various things with her again. And yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff brought up. Kind of dipped into that the deep end of the metaphysical spectrum there, and I'm very happy to go there much of the time.
me too. That's why I enjoy having you on the show and her, and we touch up on different topics. One episode we talked about light language. This episode, she felt inspired to talk about dragons and everything. Is there
Mm.
something in particular you want to bring out now that it's just the two of us, or?
You know what? I'm not sure. I hadn't thought of that because I didn't know I was going to be on this show until a couple minutes before it started. But
Fair enough.
you
Fair
lost
enough.
Kerri at the very last moment, apparently. And
Yes.
no, but I think I know, like we were discussing. She was discussing politics and stuff, and I admit I'm not necessarily big on like preaching about politics, but maybe I should be bigger on it because I'm always aware that a lot of people have their identities invested into politics.
That's right.
Like I am a Republican or I am a Democrat or whatever like that, and then especially on the right wing side of things, a lot of people tend to like see the other side as adversaries. I don't know. The left wing sees the right as adversaries too, and you know.
That's part of the game
Yeah.
too, though.
It is part of the game. And I'm at the stage where I'm not necessarily playing that game. I have my views on politics and what's right. And I actually like discussing politics when people aren't like invested in that whole team sports aspect of like us versus them. And yeah, she's right. Like, yeah,
That's exactly it. I was just
yeah,
about to say that unless you invest yourself in like you're saying, becoming part of your identity, because you claim it, kind of like this is my car or this is my house, and then it becomes part of you. And then if something were to happen to that, belonging or whatever, that it's part of you, and it's like happening to you, and that's why a lot of people react the way they do. If their car gets vandalized or something, it's like somebody vandalized them. That's how they feel about it.
yeah. And the way I'm trying to see like the politics lately is that, yeah, sure, I may not agree with Donald Trump and all his stuff. I may not agree with the administration, and probably if there was Democrats in power, I wouldn't agree with everything they're doing. But like trying to see it as a catalyst to really step into my best self and to
Mm,
really examine myself and to,
mm.
you know, if we're seeing like all this horrible stuff going on in politics, we could see that in terms of like a hero's journey where we could see the evil, the dark lord has to rise and get into power before, well, the hero can awaken and step forth and claim their true birthright and destiny and step into their power, because you need a powerful opponent in order for you to be the superhero you're always meant to be.
I love it.
Trying to
That's
get to
that's a
that point.
great, yeah. That's a great analogy. I love it. That's really cool. Yeah, the way you in you're connecting with that too, because like heroes journeys, Dungeon and Dragons, and other
Yeah.
things, and yeah, that really it in a way for people like yourself that do the kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
love
I
it.
I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons and getting into all that stuff at a pretty young age. So I think that shaped my worldview. And so when we're talking about life in the universe, it's easy for me to see our local selves, our identities, as just being like characters in some RPG we're playing or some online game. And the real self, or the higher self, if you would call it, would be the player that's behind that character. And of course,
yeah,
the player can have multiple characters. The player is aware of the character, but also aware of other things. And so if we're seeing it as a game, that works sometimes. It may not be the entirety of existence, but it's a lens to view reality from.
wonderful. Yeah, like I said, usually if you're too deep into the existence or whatever you feel like, it's real. I mean, like some people say, well, if I smack in the face, it's pretty real, ain't it? You're gonna feel the pain.
Well, it's, but at the same time, you could say it's real to that part of you that feels pain, which is the character,
Right.
not the true self.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, like,
Exactly.
I think I have this line in one of the Space God episodes early on, like, something is only real when you're inside of it, and when you step beyond it, it stops being real. And
Right.
observe it as the thing that it is. That's just a paraphrase. I forget my exact line there.
No, it doesn't matter. It's pretty good though. Pretty good. Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna be a good point to wrap it up
Oh
and
yeah,
call it an episode.
yeah. I've gone about an hour here, I think.
Any parting words or anything special you want to leave our audience with until next time?
Let's say just sometimes it could be valuable to step beyond your identity, your attachments, and try to observe yourself and examine your own life and your beliefs, and realize that's not you.
That's right. And I usually go around the same thing that I say, find out who you are, who your true self is. Like find out, like go deeper within, dismantle all your beliefs that you think you are, examine them. See, are you this, are you that, and find out. And you'll be surprised. You surprise yourself.
Oh yeah.
And with that, I wish everyone a happy and wonderful weekend until next Friday. Thank you. And thanks for watching our show.
Take
Please,
care,
if you feel
everybody.
inspired to contact any of our guests or me, myself, or Kerri, send us an email, text, join us on the live. We'll be happy to answer any questions and connect with you. Until next time.